Venturini as our guest, and the topic is about what we don't know that we know. Rita, it's a dear friend, and it's someone that I see that it's passionate about building this skill of presence, so cultivating presence, and she does it individually, and she also has this beautiful space called Quinta Tenshi in Sintra, where she hosts many kind of events and receives people in order to practice this quality of presence. I will say that it's at the core. As I look to Rita, I see this presence. And today I'm not going to introduce her in terms of curriculum and journey. I'm going to invite her immediately, and she will present herself. Welcome, Rita.
Hey, Njiza, nice to see you again.
So good. We talked a little bit a few minutes ago.
Yes.
Do you know what, when you send us your photo, I was say, wow, this will be amazing because she will bring a new look. So your photo brings this long hair, and immediately you are provoking this shift, this
Yes.
change of image. Thank you so much for being here, Rita. As you saw, I didn't introduce you. I think it will be something very in a box. And so what I want to ask you is if you can tell us a little bit of you, of your journey. So how do you become who you are now? Uh,
Okay. Well, I guess in some way through the same practices that I work with now, but in the larger scale. I feel like I've always followed some intuition in my life, even when I had really no idea what I didn't know that I didn't know. And I found myself in the most incredible places many times. I went to California in 91 and I was working in a laboratory that was like the top of the tops of research on uh, neural networks, these things that are now very popular, but then they were some completely new. And I had just gone to medical school, so I was completely out of place in this context. And I was constantly slapped in the face by the things that I had no idea that I didn't know and that I clearly did not know. You know? And that kind of made me curious over time of how we grow. No, how we learn things, and I was very lucky at some point in this journey to arrive in San Francisco, where there was a huge community of people that was working with improvisation.
mm,
And they were doing it initially just with the desire to work with the performative part, but in reality, very shortly it emerged that this was a transformative tool. No,
mm,
because what you do in improvisation, you put yourself in a box. No, like most of learning of improvisation is to do things that are very boxed in. No, you have to say words that only have the letter A, or you have to do movement that go only in a straight line. And what do you learn in these are all the time that you're not being present.
mm,
Because then instead of going in a straight line, you curve a little bit to the right or the left, and you see that is your habitual pattern that is emerging. And so you start to bang your head against the boxes of the the walls of the box, and you learn something about your habits.
Mm.
And I feel that I am very passionate about the theory U approach, because I
Yeah.
feel it gives a very clear understanding of this. It basically says to create something new, to be creating something that is really in line with what wants to emerge in this moment, you need to first see what you need to unlearn and come to a place of presence. So really turn the camera towards yourself and see what preconception, what beliefs do I hold that make the situation as it is.
Mm.
Because we are in the situation that we are right now. We are here because we all hold some of these beliefs, no?
I want to
Because
explore. Sorry to interrupt you. I want to explore
no,
that.
please, please.
That's the juicy part. No, I think everything is juicy. But I was having this question about was your experience in science in laboratories, as you were speaking, and working with our human brain in some way? It was your object of work was our human brain. How did you make the link to improvisation? So how does this link emerges? Was
I,
something
I
that you were lacking?
I think it emerged. It emerged later. It wasn't when that happened. It wasn't so much of a link. It was a jump,
Hmm.
because I had. I feel like I was always interested in the same thing. That is, what is that I'm aware of this that is happening right now. But with studying that within the context of science never felt satisfying to me.
Okay.
The answer that I would get were answers that did not really give me an answer. And so at some point I realized that this is really not my
Okay.
media. He had taken me already in an amazing journey, because I was born in a small town in Italy, and at this point I was living in San Francisco, and the world had opened up to a level that I could have not imagined. But I remember still, it was a Sunday afternoon, and I was in front of the computer, and I was like, you know what, I need to get out of here. That's the only sane things that I can do. And that's when improvisation came in, because the only thing I really knew at that point about myself was that I liked to dance. And so I started to look at things that had anything to do with the body and dancing, and finding this perspective of improvisation was really transformative,
Hmm.
because I had the feeling that I could finally see something that was what I was aiming, what my heart was yearning for so many years.
Hmm.
Kind of seeing something expressed through bodies that had the closest um, proximity to what was my idea of God, even if I had never been very religious, of something transcendental that I'd ever seen, like seeing bodies move with each other and find ways to connect that are completely unexpected, really opened up a big interesting world for me. Yeah.
It's interesting that in when I do one thing, it's when I do trainings with in some way with people that already are in the path. But when I do some new trainings with people that are not familiar with all these practices, I always feel the need to give some facts in terms of the neuroscience that we know about our blind spots. And as I'm listening to you, it's just that Okay, science can point us the blind spots, can point us our automatic ways of working. Uh, I saw a video of a conference that you made on meeting science and spirituality, and you made an exercise in terms of the time of response between action and word. So when I'm listening to you, and for my own and how I use the scientific knowledge to do my work, it's really, hey, this is how we work. So there's a lot of automatic stuff that we are not even aware that they are happening, and they influence the way we do. And what you do and what you choose is it's to focus your energy and attention in terms of how can you overcome this. Does this make sense?
It does make sense, and I feel that in that sense, science so far has not been very useful. You know, like I think about one of my mentors in the more embodiment practices. She's Peggy Hackney. She's a LABA movement analyst, top of the world person. And I invited her once to come to the Fundação Champellimot, where I spent some time in the latest...
The center of the unknown. You
in
work
the center of the unknown.
Champellimot.
Exactly. And one colleague there asked her this question: what do you think about scientific knowledge? You know, have you ever learned something from reading a scientific paper or not? And I loved her answer. She said, no, I never learned anything new about reading a scientific paper, but I got a lot of validation for my own intuition.
Wow.
You know? And I feel that for the work that you do, the work that I do, that's a lot of what I see as well. You know, yes, there is no new knowledge that is coming from there because they are working at the level that is in a way much more gross than the subtle level that you work when you work directly with humans. But then you can find some facts that help you communicating to people that might be, you know.
I need to help. I feel the need to help our listeners to understand what we are speaking about in terms of these habits. These something that we can overcome with presence. Can you name what can you help us?
Well, I can name a variety of things. So I don't know if you. I don't know if in the talk that you saw me giving, I do this exercise with people, which is asking people to do a movement and a sound that start exactly at the same time and end exactly at the same time. No? And then somebody is watching them. No? And they think that they are doing that. They think that they start the movement and the sound exactly at the same time and they end exactly at the same time. That is hardly ever true. You know, either the movement starts before the sound or the sound starts before the movement, just because of their life experience about sound and about movement. And so maybe they have been more auditory person, and so the sound starts first and the movement follows later. And that's a very basic example, but I think that the type of things, the habitual pattern that are more important for us are the one in which we see the belief that we have around the world. No? So what are the habitual beliefs that I have about myself? You know, oh, I will do this, no? Or about how the world behaves, no? And that's the usually of the theory is like you first have to see what are your beliefs and let them go, because otherwise what you're gonna see is always just your beliefs, no? Like is the usual example of, if you have a hammer and you think, that, if you are a hammer, you're only going to find nails.
Yes.
So basically, these are all the habits. And I feel that for me, the part that is extremely fascinating is the habit that we find in social interaction. No?
Mm.
Like there are some people, some type of people that you have the habit to be attracted more, and some that you have the habit to be going away from, and they have nothing to do with that particular person, and it might
Yes.
actually end up being the thing that really makes you miss an opportunity. Every now and then I do this experiment with myself, like I'm at the table or at the conference, and I pick the person that I find the most unpleasant. And then we have a conversation, and it's always an amazing conversation, and there is something there that I would have never discovered if I had allowed my habitual pattern to go more instead toward the person that is the type of person I like.
And the experience of going towards that person that is least likable or intuitively or automatically likable. Did you notice an initial tension? How was the process until get to a nice place?
Yes, it's the process of me really kind of hearing my mind going like, oh my God, what are you doing? I don't know. And I think that there is another subtlety to this, no? Because I feel that we are so often coming from our head because of the training of the habitual pattern of our world, that we miss the opportunity to really follow what is our true instinct. So after the first level of challenging your habitual mental pattern, there is also the other part of the more subtle work of starting to learn. Now, this is not just a habit. This is something that is actually coming straight from my heart and from my guts. And that is not okay to go and talk to that person or that it doesn't make any sense. So it's another level of the knowing of ourselves, really, of knowing our potential.
I normally the topic of our beliefs and our mental models, for me it's crucial in all these energy and effort that a lot of people it's putting into building a new version of our world. But I usually like to start with simple examples. I just have a few. I bet you have much more. I do this exercise, for instance, I do a list of words, pillow, night, a lot of words. And then I close the list and I ask, did anyone saw the word night? And some people saw. Did anyone saw the words sleeping, which was not there? And many people do it. And there's a lot, it's normally I use this brain is fantastic. I really like my brain, it's very useful, but it's really useful. It's just in a specific context, because it's not useful. It has a lot of bugs that we don't even notice that they are over there. And that was useful for me, for instance, in discussions, when people are discussing and I notice that people listen to things completely different. Can you help us?
Well, what you just said is really like, as you call it, a bug of memory. In the sense that we think memory is just something that stays there, like we read the list and then we put the names there, and they stay there and then we go back and pick them up. But it's not. Memory is a very active process. So if you put in the list night and pillows and everything. Of course, the moment that you ask people if they saw sleeping, their memory construction is gonna bring sleeping as something that yeah probably was there, and I think we do that all the time, and in particular, on top of that, in the situation that you are talking about. I feel that there is another habitual thing that is the filter of listening.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
So we listen in a lot of different ways. No, we listen in a lot of different ways. A little bit because of our history. So some things come easier to me because I know about it. Some other things come easier to you because you know about it, and that's just part of the fact that the brain knows some things better, and so it retains things better. But then there is also the other part of the problem of the filters of listening is that why are we listening? I have to say that that for me was one of the biggest revelations of going back to science about 8 years ago after a bigger hiatus of being in a different world. It was like, wow, the majority of the people here, they don't really listen to hear what the other person is trying to say. They are listening to find the weak point to shoot them, And I bring the experience of science because science is built around this very competitive type of world in which they are everybody is trained to do this because that's the way they survive within their world, and they keep getting jobs and getting grants. But it's really something that we all do at some level, like we listen to a person trying to find what can I say that is smarter than what they're saying. So you're not actually really fully listening to what they say. You are listening to the things that you think you can shoot down. And I find that actually, for me, one of the biggest revelations that has happened now with this COVID has been doing all of this work with bodies via Zoom. No? Because I started with enormous prejudice, like, my God, we're doing this is terrible, blah, 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 all of that. And now, after 2.5 months of doing this regularly, I'm in awe of the experience because it completely cracked all of the habitual things that I would take into account. Because if we are in front of each other, I'm gonna look how your body is sitting, how you are, the way your skin looks, the smell, the kind of temperature thing that I feel, how our body are reciprocally one to another. And not having that, I had to, and I feel all of my colleagues, we had to go at such a deeper level of listening. And
it's
finding,
so sorry, you speak deeper and I sense higher. It's interesting. It goes on the same way, but
connecting deeper with a person and have a listening at a higher level of listening. I think it's years that I tell people, oh, your body is a big antenna, and it senses everything, and just you need to learn to distinguish what is there. And I never understood how incredibly powerful is not to be there in person, because it takes away you know, a huge chunk of habitual things that I have to do again with those things. I like you, I don't like you, you smell good to me, you don't, you know, like I like your clothes, I don't like them, you know, you have your armpits are sweaty or not, you know, like all of those things that constantly come as a judgment. And instead you are just tuning in, what do I feel? You know, what do I really feel? And how this connects with what's happening here, you know, like
it seems that the online gives us that space between the input and the reaction. You have more space to observe yourself. I Ricardo Carvalho, which is a dear friend, is also an art of hosting practitioner, is also listening. In the beginning of the COVID, I was sharing with him, let's see this going online. It's not a playground for us to practice this new level. And even in the group of practice that both of us participate, and Nuno also, which is here, we were having this conversation about the potential. Really, it has a resistance, but there's this potential. But this takes me to what you were mentioning, and let's help us, our listeners, to understand this connection of the body. What's the role of the body in all this? Okay, science helps us to identify there's a lot of bugs, and the way we are wired has good stuff, but it has a lot of traps, mental traps and automatic. And the solution goes to the body. How does this work? How would you describe the role of the body in this capacity to be more aware, more present, know more about what you currently don't know?
Well, the body, I think, enters in that in a variety of ways. The first part that I feel for me was because I was somebody that was always in their head, and you know, and I'm pretty smart. No, I'm not that smart, but I'm pretty smart. So that kept me in my head, you know, like, and a lot of things, you know, even that they are not exactly what it is, no? The word for mind and the word for lying is the same word, no?
Mm.
So the brain, the mind can lie completely itself in your head, and we all do on the regular basis, you know, like
Yeah.
in many ways. Like, but the body doesn't allow that, you know, like, you know, you can either do a handstand or you can't. Either gonna move close or not. No, like the body has this really finite part. So that's, I think, a first step in which the body really helps you to see what you don't, because it kind of shows you where you might think something, but you're actually doing something else. No? And that is one of the beautiful things that I love about the social presence in theater approach, is that you are put in this situation of reflecting about your contribution in the collective, and you might have your idea that you are this and that and this, but then you're going to do some things and not others, no? And you see. No, that's a first level in which the body comes in, and I think it's a very important level. See
It's
yourself in action really helps you to see where your beliefs are. No,
yeah.
but the
Yeah.
other level, the one that we are talking about in the online thing, that for me is now like so in my face that I cannot not say it. Is that the body, as I was mentioning before, is like a very big antenna. You know, I feel the body, we are nature through the body, no?
Nuno Silva was saying that, and they were saying, great to see you, Nuno Silva.
And you know, we are nature through our body, no? And so the more we can listen to what the body is actually saying, the more we can be connected with nature.
And with
And
each
I
other.
think that, yeah, what's emerging in this context that is so, at some level, natural, is a reconnection to our common humanity that is deeper than what we normally have. I have to go and get some water, sorry.
Please go. You, as I was listening to you, I was recalling one of my first trainings in nonverbal communication, and it was amazed how the postures of your feet and the way your eyes move, they can be in such a dissonance with what you are saying. And
Yeah.
you are not even aware, because, and I recall my teacher saying the brain, the cortex, is able to lie, but the limbic, that it's really connected with the body, can't. So it's continuously expressing that truth that is in the body.
Yeah.
And people are not aware, but the message passes, because what I got, and this led me to trust much more my instinct. It's really when your mind has, oh wow, this situation was amazing, it was just as I have planned, but my body says no, something is not smelling good here in this situation. But it is a path, and a challenging one to do this shift, to start to trust. Would you say that we should start trusting more our bodies than our mind?
I would certainly say that. And the path, as you are saying, is not simple, no? Because first there is the unlearning period. And in the actively unlearning, you're going to challenge something because your body has habits as well, no?
Okay.
So maybe you go closer to somebody because they look like your grandmother, no?
Okay.
But it doesn't necessarily mean it's your grandmother, you know, whatever, no? Like, but, and then you have to unlearn that and at the same time start to listen that there is another voice inside and see how that voice keeps coming up, no? Like, and that's where I think practicing this is very important, no? Because when you practice in a safe environment in which is not the thing that is going to change your life, making you lose your job, or you start to really tune in this subtlety. Oh, this really means I follow this instinct. This instead is still unclear. I don't know, maybe I stop, you know, like and I don't feel that, I feel that our bodies have been so domesticated by society because I actually believe mostly because of their relationship with sexuality, you know, like we are put in places in which the body has to be, you know, in this particular axis, you know, sagittal, and you interact with people in this way because it's not threatening, you know, or is threatening in a way that the society likes. But everything else is numb, and especially like your relationship with your organs, being, you know, from the moment you go to school and you have to ask, or you have some times where you can go pee, but you know, maybe you needed to go pee, you know, 45 minutes before, you know, like
my son once came at home, oh mom, that's incredible, I wanted to go pee and they didn't allow me. Very shocked. But as I was listening to you, I was having this insight of, I think one of my fields of practice of following the body, and very connected with what you were saying in terms of we being attracted to some people, and other people we repel. And one of the things that I started, it's patterns. When I find myself in situations which I don't want to be it in, and most of them it's even in professional. I don't separate too much, and I really believe that it's really connected with what you were saying. So there's dynamics. There's probably regarding with my relationship with father or mother or grandfather or grandmother or female or male, and it's the automatic when I'm not aware, I go straight to those situations that will cause the same patterns and the same circumstances, because it seems like I have this software running here, and I'm on the last 10 years trying to spot the softwares, not overcoming the softwares, but spotting the softwares. And I really would like to hear our listeners. If you want, you can write. If this resonates with you, did you find yourself in and pick up this what Rita was saying in terms of being attracted or rejecting some kind of people, if you have that experience. And yeah, and really the an evolutional path is what you said, try to go to the other side, but it's really uncomfortable. It's really not easy. I would like to go now. We passed our half an hour, but I would like to speak a little bit of presencing and theory, which it's a tool. It's more than a tool, but let me use the word. It's a tool and a practice that can help us overcome. What are the essential steps, or what does it pay attention that really can help us to spot those places from where we are operating, but we don't know we are operating? How is the journey?
Well, a lot of it, I think, is a journey of being mirrored. No? So it's a collective journey, because it's very hard to see the things that you don't see by yourself.
Alone, yeah.
You know? And so I feel that a lot what the Presencing Institute has been creating and offering, or even not even creating, collecting, because it's a bit like the art of hosting, is not the new stuff, but put together with a certain intention, has been collecting ways to be mirrored in a safe way from other people. And I feel that starts at the discourse level in the tool that they call coaching circles, in which you can present a case and people will be listening to you, but not listening to you so much in terms of content, but listening to you to where does this land, how you're talking to me, like, are you being real? Are you kind of in some narrative in your head? Are you lost in an emotion, and really allow images, sensations to be in the forefront of that mirroring. I find that very powerful. And then in the body realm, in the social presence in theater, then that happens instead with yourself in action with other people. And the type of tools that and insight that they offer you through their body, sometimes without even knowing that they're offering it. Like if you think about, there is a beautiful exercise that is called stuck. I don't know if you've ever done.
I love that exercise. I have this exercise in a very particular phase of my life, and it was mind-blowing, the results. And even doing the experience and sensing the pleasure and the sensations in my body, and how my brain was wanting to put that in a box was mind-blowing. No?
And there, like the version that you do of the stuck with forces, you ask people, you go yourself in a body that makes you feel wherever you are stuck in, whatever. You want to change house, or you want to stop smoking, whatever you are stuck in. And then you get people to put their body there to hold you in that place, and then allowing the system to move, because stuck by definition is an unsustainable position, and hearing what moved other people's bodies is what breaks your beliefs. Because you have beliefs around all of the different forces that keep you stuck. And when you hear that somebody moves in a different way than you expected, it kind of opens up. Oh, it's like, oh, maybe that could go that way. You know, I always thought that he went, chee, 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 but instead he goes like sideways. No, and so all of these situations in which other people can reflect back on your thinking and being, I think, are beautiful ways, and heart opening as well. To start to see what we don't know that we don't know.
You mentioned the images and the sensations. I will dare, and please correct me or I'll build up on it. I will dare to say, if you want to know what you don't know, pay attention to those things, to sensations, to image, and that's very hard. And I say it with in a very compassionate way, because I've been there. I was very mental. I'm still are very mental. And when I do these exercises with groups which in some way are not familiar with this practice, and I do a journaling, for instance, and ask them to think with the hands. So I give them a question, and I just ask them to write what comes up. So, and when I say sometimes I see inwards, I can see a color more, something, my inner view, I see yellow, and I see a triangle, I feel cold, and you don't need to understand that, you just need to write it. And it's so difficult for people to connect with those images. And you that come from the scientific field, that's always happening, isn't it? That those informations, they are always arising.
They're always arising. It's just our we are trained to think is irrelevant. So I feel that that's what is beautiful about what's happening in our online things, because a lot of the things that we are trained to think that are relevant, we cannot pay attention to anymore. Then we are left with what we think is irrelevant, or we are trained to believe is irrelevant, and it still instead has an enormous connection with, actually even deeper and higher connection with everything else. And so it kind of turn things around, of who is the master in the situation.
I've always heard, and I think until now, sometimes I joke, oh, little boxes, and the fact, and criticizing that in some way we created a version of our world that tries to put it in a little box. But while listening to you now, it seems that now at a certain stage, it's you that keep yourself within the box. It's no longer.
It's always you that keeps yourself in the box. The fact that the box is created culturally is a different story. No, but we are social being. We grow up in a culture and a situation, and we, imagine as you are when you are a newborn. Like you are completely dependent to other people, and you continue being it until, for many people, forever, or maybe for all of us forever, in the sense that you need other people to be happy and feel loved and have a beautiful life. And that keeps us putting ourselves in boxes that fit in the expectations of the society, but the box is always in here, no? And which is great at some level, no?
Yes, it has the good and the bad and the bad and the good. So there's
Because then you can do something about it. You know, if there was a, you know, like the mythical box maker out there, that would be a lot more problematic. Instead, because there isn't, you know, like we're working with ourselves and others out of the box, at least out of the box some of the time.
I lost you a little bit. I think it's my internet, but I think I'm back. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
back.
Yeah. Yes, sir. I didn't lose you.
It's my internet. Today I was afraid because suddenly for a few minutes I didn't have the internet. Rita, I'm trying to head on to wrapping up, but I want to add a new layer of complexity.
Okay.
Wrapping up. So I want to bring this aspect of the things that we don't know in the context of the world that we are living in, and particularly in the context of the things that in some way we are all aware that we don't want. But maybe we are not aware that we are contributing to them. You are laughing.
No, I'm laughing because you said it. That's how it is. You know, like they are there because we are all contributing to them. You know, and so the only way that we could and we will go past this situation is when we are able to acknowledge that inside ourselves. No, like because you know, if you think about it, like our animals, we all have different skills. No. For us as human, we have the skills to be anything, you know, like we are the lamb and the wolf that all saying, it's true, you know, we can be all of those things, and we harbor many of these things, just historically, evolutionary, and that's why they keep being manifested in the world as it is, and it's only by really, it's not by fighting them outside only, you know, of course you want to stop certain things, but it's from identifying I am part of the problem, I'm being in this and this way that keeps creating this situation of discomfort, abuse, and inequality that we all want to change, but then we keep putting it out there, no, like we want to change it, but we think we don't have it.
Yeah.
He has it, you know, or she has it, but I instead don't, no, like, and that keeps things in place. That is the very dangerous thing of the thing that you don't know, because they move you, you know.
Yeah.
They act through you.
They act through you. That.
They act through you.
I was speaking up at the core of what I do. It's really this of fostering participative action, so everyone is heard, so that in the system everyone is heard. And picking up what you just shared with us, I can be even me that I'm aware that I want to help build the world that helps create structures and ways of organizing where everyone has voice. If I came from a lineage of, for instance, only the older speaks, or only if I do not, and I find myself sometimes enacting from places which I do not want. If I'm not aware, I can bring this pattern of only giving voice to some specific people. So, and I'm doing this confession to all of you in order to open the space for you to also look up in what ways all us are helping perpetuating in this world things that we do not like. And it's okay, this ambiguity or this dissonance. this is part. I find myself so many times having thoughts and having impulse to act that don't come from the place that I currently choose to act, but come from those places which I'm not even aware.
Of course, you know, like, and I feel in reality, all of these places in which we push away always have an underlying thing of that, you know, because otherwise, we could, when something is not something that feels threatening directly inside us, we can be more tolerant. And when
Mm.
we start to be like, oh, this is unacceptable, then it's time to look, because it means that same thing is there in you and festering and moving and creating the world as it is, you know, like I think that's one of the, I think the most beautiful thing of the theory you uh, now I'm sure I'm gonna forget I forgot the name of the person, or I always confuse the name of the person, so I'm not gonna say it, but I'm sure you have heard this quote before, which is that the success of an intervention depends only on the inner condition of the intervener. You know,
Totally. Yeah. And to be,
so
yeah, and to be more specific to our listeners, it's give two people the same resources, the same amount of time, the same context, everything is equal. But allow us that this person, it's not so connected with herself, is operating from those places that he doesn't know. And you have a person that is much more aware from the place where it's is operating and makes a choice. The results are going to be completely different. In some ways, this
yeah.
is this. Uh,
And
it's
that's the same for all of us, not that work in this type of world. You know, it's constantly a request for us to see what are we, you know, who is here talking, you know, like, am I talking because I need some validation, or am I talking because, you know, this is the boss and I need to get whatever it is, you know, like it's really important.
But normally, at least for me, sometimes I don't get immediately to that. I get at it's to the discomfort. No, I know Nuno needs to go. Love and gratitude, oceans of beijinhos. I know that I'm holding an emotion. I know that I'm open, or I know that I'm closed. But sometimes
Mhm.
I'm not so aware uh, of 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 that connection to my own story immediately. Am I making sense?
Yeah, you're making sense, and I feel that that's one of the biggest things that we can all work with. You know, we don't train this in our society. You know, like if we agree that this inner condition is the most important determinant of every situation, why don't we ever even get supported to learn anything about that? You know,
Mm.
there is nothing that is done at that level, you know, other than now a few attempts which are beautiful around bringing mindfulness to schools or things like that, but never anything explicitly asking people to say, who do you think is speaking
It's
inside
speaking.
you right now? You know, like, is it the one that needs something, or is the one that wants to give something? Or, you know, like, where are you coming from?
But you know that sometimes, even when in some way, I bring that question, the degree of not, and I'm not judging, but there's, many times I face with the people not even listening and understanding that the question, not being
Yeah.
able to tap into the question. It's I think we have a long journey, but I also celebrate there's a lot of people more and more aware and interesting in to know each other, themselves. And now I'm trying to do wrap up. Picking up the question, what you don't know that you don't know, help me, Rita. You don't know that you have a lot of models and mechanisms that you are not in control, and they influence the way what you see. A lot of things is happening. Imagine that all these elements are in your surroundings. But if your story and your models only know about these three ones, you are only going to see these three ones. So your stories, your past, select reality. You don't know that your body has a lot of information about what is really important to you. And would you have anything more?
That we could learn to trust our bodies more, you know. But that also takes time, no? Because, yeah, again, because we have been trained the other way around. Like to eat when it's time, and pee when it's time, instead of doing it when you're hungry and when you have to pee.
And maybe leave a strong invitation to start small. Each one of us has his unique initial step that I think me, Njiza, personally, what I would like to be harvesting of this conversation, it's really, you can have much more power on what you see, what you say, and what you do in the world if you start paying attention to your body and to the inner places where you are. There's a lot of power there. There's a lot of power and transformative power, and the world needs.
Yeah, definitely. Like I would say a first step, I love like Arnold Mindell from Process Work. He would say something like, just do a little dance, right before you go to bed. Just do a little dance, whatever comes up from your body, and just see what it is, and be curious about it. And, it can be
even when brushing your tooth, pay attention to that. It's little steps.
Yeah.
Rita,
Njiza,
thank you so much.
Thank you for the beautiful invitation, and
I hope you have enjoyed. I enjoyed. I enjoy seeing you and seeing also Quinta Tenchi. You are in Quinta Tenchi, so I can see the green around you. Now it's getting a little bit darker. Thank you